What made you start thinking about getting into entrepreneurship? Was it always like a thought in the beginning, or did it occur in the journey?
I was a kid. So my mom put me into preschool when I was 3 because she was a working mom. Ever since then, I've always been under some sort of curated, custodianship or program or institution or organization. So that was for the first time in my life. I was just like, sort of like, doing whatever I wanted. And, how do I know that I'm pushing enough, that I'm not being a little too soft in the team? And when you really are trying to push, how do I know that I'm not going too hard, that I'm going to break people?
When I set my mind to doing something, it's hard for me to look for anything else. Yeah, it's very difficult. So even if somebody was like, yeah, you're like so crappy, you're not today. I'll focus on you later. And trust me, maybe I will. Maybe when I get home, I'd be like, oh, I'm so upset. That person said that crappy thing about me.
Yeah.
But I promise you, if I have something to do, I'm going to rock up for my podcast. I'm going to film. I'm going to do that. Yeah, I think it's a personality thing. Hello, Resonate community, and welcome to the best and the biggest sales and entrepreneurship podcast in the whole wide world. I missed saying that so much. I missed you guys. I missed having awesome conversations with you. And as always, like I tell you guys, I always have people that I genuinely want to speak to. And just my conversation today, I was telling my team earlier that I have butterflies in my tummy because of the guests that we have and just the conversations that we're about to have. I think is about to be awesome. So today, the woman I have is an entrepreneur, is a podcaster, a speaker, a creator, and she is an industrial engineer by background, turned into an amazing, I'd even call her a famous entrepreneur. I have Letsoalo, who is the founder of Masodi. Liz, welcome to the Resonate podcast.
Oh, Michelle, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh,
I am so excited. Can I tell you? I'm very excited.
Yeah. I'm excited to chat to you.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I'm just like, it feels like we're just going to have coffee and have a good girl time.
I think we are.
Like, that's what I'm feeling.
I think we are.
Okay, cool. So before we get into like the nitty-gritty stuff, we have a tradition here where we basically get to ask you 5 rounds of questions just to get to know you a little bit more. Yeah. They're not spicy, but they can be a little bit out of the box. Yeah. Okay. Can I start?
Yeah.
All right. So the first one is, if beauty brands were students in high school, what kind of student would Masodi be? And who would be sitting next to you?
Ooh, okay. We're rolling onto it.
Yes, we are.
I think it would be the fun student who's everyone's friend.
Yeah.
Is bright, is sporty, gets along with everyone.
Yeah.
Gets along with everyone.
Yeah.
And it would sit next to the quiet student who's super smart and has a lot more gravitas, but they just get along and no one understands her.
Yeah. That's nice. I can see that though. But I can also see that from you as a founder, like how that would was that the kind of student you were in school?
Maybe.
So it's like it would definitely just embody who you are.
Yeah.
I love that very much. Okay, cool. So my next question is, what's your favorite go-to meal?
Ooh, bap and cabbage and either vleis or chicken stew.
Oh, I love that.
Yes, every day.
Bap with anything.
Yes, bap with anything every day.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Bap is so good. I don't get people who don't like bap.
They don't know what
It's
they're
like
missing
something's wrong
out
with you and you need prayer.
Yeah.
And we got you.
Yeah.
Because bap is amazing. Okay. My last question for you is, let's say Masodi gets its own Netflix docuseries. Okay.
Ooh.
What's the title and what would be the opening scene?
Oh my gosh, what am I going to do?
So I get your director hats. Let's roll.
The title probably would just be Masodi. And the opening scene would be our manufacturing facility. Like you just see machinery, date coders, deliveries. You would see the grind behind, Masodi products.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. And I can somehow see that.
Mm-hmm. Conveyors.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I love that. And I think Masodi being the title would be like very respected because I think Masodi is such a powerful name. It almost gives female warrior. I mean, I don't even know what it means.
Yeah.
But it almost gives like, it's like, oh, am I about to watch like an action movie about this African female warrior who's about to like step out of that, like factory or what? It's just like, it's so mysterious.
It's actually, so it means, depending on which angle you want to look at it from, If you're optimistic, it means a perfectionist.
Okay.
Someone who's always striving for more, for better.
Okay.
If you're a pessimist, it could mean, someone who's always seeing fault or flaws in things. I guess, perfectionist, but still in a negative. So, kasi
Yes.
pwede ba raw wasola?
Oh,
Right.
okay. Got you.
Got me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like just basically not leaving any stone unturned.
No, we're going to turn every single stone in this hood.
I love that. I love that so much. Was there ever a full circle moment from your childhood that when you think of Liz right now and Masodi right now makes sense?
I think there's two that I can think of. The first one was I was the kid who went to a farm school. Mm-hmm. And the irony of the farm school I went to was that we were not allowed to keep hair. So throughout my entire childhood, I wasn't allowed to keep hair. I wasn't allowed to wear earrings by the school. So only during school holidays, you would experiment kabudi eskele, or you know what I mean.
But you don't have enough time for growth.
It's never enough time for growth. So I guess the full circle moment is, look at me. I get to grow up and be the person who helps people look after their hair, and I get to play around with my hair. And the second part of it is just from an entrepreneurship perspective. Mm-hmm. I was also the kid who would save up a bit of money on the side and sell popcorn in the car to try and make more. Nice. And, even that hasn't always necessarily been the core of me, to be honest. I just wanted, nice things on the side. And I was like, there has to be a cheaper way. Yeah. But, small things like that make you realize perhaps there's always been something there that, has never died.
It sparked an interest. Mm-hmm. So you're an industrial engineer. I mean, that's such an amazing career. And I think a lot of parents would be like so proud of their child stepping into that. What made you start thinking about getting into entrepreneurship? Was it always like a thought in the beginning, or did it occur in the journey?
It was always a thought, a consideration rather. It wasn't a decision that I'd made. I wanted to do many things. I wanted to go into art. I wanted to go into the media space. I wanted to go into politics. I wanted to go into anything and everything, to be honest. But entrepreneurship wasn't at the top of the list. Neither was business. All I knew when I was graduating from the University of Pretoria was, I want to be free, man. I remember I felt so weighed down by the idea of going to take a full-time job in a corporate organization. And, luckily I took a really good job, went into FMCG straight from varsity, where I learned a lot of what I'm now executing in Masodi. And it was a wonderful job. But even then, every time the itch would come back, I'd quit my job, such that within a period of like 5 years, I'd already moved through 3 multinational organizations. Sure. By the third one, I was like, I know, something has to change.
Like there's an itch somewhere and we're clearly not doing it justice.
And also by the second organization, I'd already started playing around with different business concepts with my friends, some of them individually. So I've always known that I wanted to feel free in what I did. And freedom for me meant, free from a lot of the unnecessary workplace politics or a lot of the ways in which we've organized ourselves as a society doesn't always feel natural to me. And I was like, even if I am, still participating in this thing, even still in the city, it has to be in a way that I have direct influence over how I do it. And that's how I ended up going into Masodi.
Yeah. Oh, I love that story so much because it's so different. Yeah. It's very, very different. And I have so much appreciation for that. So you eventually leave your job and you step into Masodi. What is that like?
Oh, it's crazy.
It's like the dum, dum, dum.
Ooh, it's crazy. Don't do it. Somebody should have said, don't do it.
Like, just keep your job.
Yes. So, I leave my job a year after starting Masodi. And, I'm like, if I've got at least a year and a half to 2 years runway, financial runway, I'll be fine. Mm-hmm. I'll still be able to pay my bills. I'm not working from, a place of scarcity. I'm going to build this thing. And I mean, at the time, the brand is gaining traction. I'm really excited about, having to market this thing on social media. It's like my baby. I'm just so happy, right? Yeah. And then I go into this thing and then you start realizing actually now that this is your livelihood and is your everything, there's a part of you that starts feeling like, I cannot afford to fail.
Yeah.
I have to, operationalize this thing. And operationalizing things sometimes takes out the fun out of things.
That's true.
I needed to create systems and processes. I needed to start, thinking about VAT and taxes and
Now
admin.
it sucks.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, this sucks. And at the same time, I'm still making the products myself in the kitchen.
Oh my gosh.
And then moved from the kitchen and went to the garage, which was a graduation, which was nice. And then from the garage to a smaller workspace, and then to 3-4 other workspaces after that. But the transition from work to entrepreneurship full time was so crazy also because I wasn't used to not having a boss. All my life, ever since I was a kid. So my mom put me into preschool when I was 3 because she was a working mom. Ever since then, I've always been under some sort of curated, custodianship or program or institution or organization. So that was for the first time in my life. I was just like, sort of like doing whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure whether I was doing it correctly. I didn't have that many
Sure.
people around me to say, am I doing it correctly? What should I be doing? But it was fun at times, but a bit shocking in other times because of the
Like, is there like a specific scenario or a moment that drilled the fact that this is real?
Yes.
What was it?
Going to SARS offices.
You're like, what?
I was like, so I go to SARS offices just before just before COVID.
Yeah.
I go to SARS offices, me, I'm a compliance girl, I'm a systems and process girl, I'm
Yes.
let's do things the right way.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get an employee certificate, whatever these documents, I'm trying to get that. I'm trying to get a couple of things. And I got to the offices at 6 a.m, and then I was sent back because I was missing some document, and then I had to go back the next day. By the third day, I had it, but I came back with the documents, and I was like, yeah, okay, this is serious.
Yeah. It's like now we are in business.
Now
like
we're in
now it's real.
business.
You spoke about, how all of us from childhood and into our corporate industries are under some form of custodianship. So there's certain rules that we just easily fall into. Two things. When we are in a corporate space, there's rules, there's regulations, there's a way of doing things. And now that you're an entrepreneur, you need to build that for yourself first and then for the rest of your team. Did you find productivity as an easy thing to do in the beginning stages, like being able to be diligent with your time? Or was it something that maybe you had to work through until something had to like hit your brain that, okay, I need to be a better custodian of my time?
Yeah. So with me, I can go. I can grind and grind nonstop. So the concern actually wasn't so much, can you be productive and can you work? It was, okay, how do you stop? Especially when you're now working from home. You're manufacturing the products from home. You're doing the strategy work from home. You're doing the marketing work, the content work from home. So for me, 24/7, we go. As long as I'm up, we're working. So that really wasn't a struggle. What was a struggle was then when I started scaling up and I started growing the team. You can't expect everyone to behave as though they opted into entrepreneurship themselves.
That's hard for a lot of entrepreneurs.
Yes, but people are in jobs, rightfully so, in the same way you were in a job prior to coming into Masodi. So you can't expect that everyone is going to behave as though they're an entrepreneur in your own organization. You are the one with skin in the game. They don't. And of course, this isn't to say I'm not looking for excellence or commitment or hard work. I am. But at the same time, because people have certain limitations in terms of how much financial reward they can get as an employee versus as a founder with equity, you also have to translate that equity in terms of work. So there are things that on a weekend I can do that I can't ask my team to do. And if I do ask for a team to work on weekend, it's understood that it's overtime, or it's understood that you're going to get your time back at a certain point. That wasn't hard for me to do, but I think there's always a part of you that's wondering, how do I know that I'm pushing enough, that I'm not being a little too soft in the team? And when you really are trying to push, how do I know that I'm not going too hard, that I'm going to break people?
I love that so much, because I think one of the things that you spoke about earlier when you were in corporate is saying that you wanted to be free. And now you're an entrepreneur. You also want people that still work for you to work for you while feeling that sense of freedom. How's that been like in terms of just your leadership? Have you seen it call a different part of you? And also maybe potentially being a young Black woman in a leadership position.
It is very complicated and complex, right? For me, because there's parts of it that I need to be open about, where I feel that in some cases when you try to be too thoughtful, too kind, it invites people who don't know how to receive thoughtfulness and kindness well to take advantage. And that's disheartening, that's disappointing, that's sometimes annoying.
Yeah.
And then the people who know how to receive it well, we have a wonderful time together and it's fantastic, right? Yeah. And one of the things I'm learning how to do now is how not to penalize people who are not taking advantage of a well-functioning system because of a few who maybe want to take advantage. How to not sacrifice or compromise on the company culture that I'm trying to build because one or two people will always try it. All you just need to do is to think about, okay, how are we going to set boundaries for, if you go beyond the rules, what do we do? And that's just part of code of conduct. And for me, operationalizing and conductionalizing, things before they become issues has saved me so many times, because I don't have to say, I don't like what you're doing. I just need to say, you broke this rule and these are the consequences as agreed in the contract. It makes the conversation much more easier, but it makes me feel secure to say, we can have popcorn Friday at the office because we're just trying to have fun. Or, if you're sick, you don't have to bring in a sick note because sometimes you just have flu and there is no sick note for flu. And flu can be painful. So I don't want you to have to run around getting fake sick notes and whatever as people do, because we want to create a trust system. So, the people who are taking advantage of well-meaning systems will automatically be sifted out by themselves. So you just need to trust in the systems that you've built for yourself.
I love that, because it really talks a lot in building systems. And maybe what a lot of entrepreneurs do is that we face the challenges first and then set the systems later. So it's like we're now setting the systems because we've been burnt. And because now we've faced the challenges, but maybe these are things to actually look out for. And what was setting those systems like for you? Did you have to consult an HR practitioner to actually help you literally start, putting your organization together, because now you're scaling up and you've got a team coming in?
So business functions like HR for a team of like around 20 people is really a waste of money in my view, and a waste of someone's time who needs to come to work and every day pour themselves into this thing on a full-time basis when we know we don't have that much necessity for it. But you have HR consultant services who actually give you everything you need. You just need to outsource your services. They know everyone and those can come in handy. You also have legal services, right, where people can help you draft preemptive employment contracts and things like that, such that when people come in already, we know that the rigor of the contracts has been really solidified from a legal standpoint. And we don't have to worry about a lot of things. We don't have to wait for incidents to happen before we catch them. And sometimes you wait, but as long as you know that you have access to someone you can consult and say, this is an issue that I'm either foreseeing or experiencing. Can you help me navigate it? And, they always do.
There's a lot of pressure that falls on founders of any business. It's like dealing with now and trying to have foresight of the future, and now trying to marry the two so that your business stays afloat. How do you deal with that mentally? How do you make sure that you're mentally strong? And what are the things that you actually put in practice to make sure that you are not having slump days that are too often, so that you can show up properly?
I always say that my work at Masodi is my prayer, and I'm going to get a little emotional as I'm talking about this, but my work at Masodi is my prayer. So there's a place that it comes from that is so deep within me. And I am not conflicted by the work that I do. And I'm not conflicted by how I do it. So for me, there's a huge sense of security that comes with that. I don't move in business with anxiety of, oh my gosh, will my business be here today or tomorrow? If it isn't here next week, it would have ended because, that calling, that time would have ended. It would have, achieved its mission. And I also am moving around the business world with the understanding that I am smart, I am capable, and I am on this mission that is, yes, about me and for me, but also about other people and for other people as well. So I've never had any anxiousness around, what about the future? Because also Masodi has been incredibly agile and very creative and innovative. If you look at when we started about 6.5 years ago, we started with about 4 or 5 SKUs, 1 skincare product and 4 hair care product. We probably turned around more than 50 products in between, trying something, throwing it out, trying something, throwing it out. So I think because we're so agile, we're so experimental, we're so curious, I always know that whatever mission of the day or whatever thing of the day, we will be there in the arena playing along with other kids. And that excites me more than it intimidates me.
Yeah. I love that because agility. I mean, I was thinking about that word this morning. Where do you think that comes from? Just your ability to be agile in the business.
I think it's because I've always been an agile child. I was the loud one in the class. I wanted to. I was a cocktail of things that didn't make sense. I would debate, but also I wanted to run, and I was terrible. I was willing to try everything. And even in my life today, when I'm looking at Masodi, it's one of the many other things that I want to achieve or do in my life. So I think for me, I don't hold on really with such a tight grip that I can't let go to an idea, to any piece of work, to an identity, or to anything really. And I think that is how I started Masodi, with the ethos that we're going to try out different things, and if something doesn't work out, you toss it away. It's not a negative reflection of yourself. It's just to say, hey, I tried, it didn't work out, let's try something else. And the values of the business were founded, I guess, to a certain extent based on my values and my family's values. And you start to see the team actually start moving in that way to say, oh, that didn't work out, can we do this? And it's like, yeah.
I love that very much. I love hearing you speak. You are a very confident and sure person about what you do. And I think that that's such an important trait for any entrepreneur to have, is like, as long as you just sit within yourself. Where does that come from?
I don't know. I mean, I'd like to think God won, but I'm also, born of very interesting parents. My dad is a workaholic. He is this guy who has, dedicated his life to just working all his life. And when he's really passionate about something, he throws himself in there.
Yeah.
And my mother, Masodi, also has been a workaholic. To this day, she's still, just so passionate. And I guess there's maybe a genetic part of it where we just love working and we're very passionate people. And maybe there's also a part of it where I just grew up seeing people who had a cause that they cared about and said, this is the thing that I am going to die doing. And they loved it and they did it, regardless of what the circumstance of the day was.
Yeah, it was a perfect match and the mix to make you.
Yeah, maybe.
Which is awesome. All right, I want to get into the whole marketing and sales conversation because that's quite a big one, right?
Yeah.
Everybody always people have these amazing ideas and they're like, Michelle, I'm going to start this business. I've got this. It's like, now let's take it to the market. And it's like, dun, dun, dun. How do you get to do that? And I've been seeing you create amazing social media content. I saw you shared something online about how, like, as the founder, your weekends are basically filled with you creating content for your business. And I want to ask from you, what are the key elements that help you create that content? And I'm going to start content because content is usually the foundational base of now us marketing, but it's usually what a lot of small business owners have access to, which is they don't have the budget for all the other things yet. What is the formula that you use to create content that can help us do the same for our business?
I think first and foremost, it's going to be something that might annoy someone who wants an answer.
Okay.
Just being willing to do hard things for a very long time. Because doing content for many people is not, it's not that hard, to be honest, for many people.
Yeah.
But creating content every day for 6.5 years is really hard.
And sometimes you're not seeing the likes, you're not blowing up, you're not going viral.
Exactly, because then you have to keep investing in the story until someone says, hang on, this person has been telling a consistent story. Perhaps we should listen. So I think first and foremost, it's to say, once the excitement phase, passes, how willing are you to continue creating content and you're getting, 72 views and 3 likes and maybe no comment from time to time. And that's the first part of it. The second part of it is, I always say to people, find your niche. And it's something that even I myself am still trying to discover or clarify for myself and for the brand.
Okay.
Yeah. So I feel like I can still get better and the business can still get better. Find your niche, because moving with the industry-wide trend is helpful, but has a cap. There's a specific thing that people are looking for, specifically from you. Or even if people aren't looking for it necessarily from you or don't know they need it, there's a twist that you can put onto something, on a way you communicate. That is so you. That when people just see it before, they even get the core message, they're like, this is going to be good. And I think your niche doesn't have to be complicated or perfect. TikTok has shown us that. We had invested in like content equipment and whatever, to the point where we don't even use it as much anymore, because every time you take content with cameras and it looks too perfect, people don't engage because it feels too curated.
Wow.
Right. So people now are saying, you talk to us and you tell us the truth. Whether you're a brand, whether you're a creator, whether you're an influencer, tell us the truth. And we want to get a sense that it's unfiltered. We want to get a sense that it's authentic and it's raw, and that you truly care about us as consumers more than you just want our coins. And I think for me, carving out a niche that is in line truly with your interest. Don't say, what is the best content out there? Because sometimes the best content actually requires a lot more work from you, because it's not natural for you. So for me now, I'm trying to experiment, for example, with just sitting and setting up the camera, because I'm like, I don't have time to be gossiping about my life on camera and telling people, guess what happened to me yesterday. I can't do that. It's not me. I just put my phone and it rolls while we're in a meeting, while I'm typing, and I share some nuggets about business. And I'm like, this is something I think for me, I feel good when I do it, but also it's low effort. I'm not going to feel like, oh my gosh, I have to go and do that today. So it enables me to still be excited every day about creating content. And I think it's something that I would be willing to do for a very long time. Yeah.
Sure. You said something that is so important. It's like, just be willing to do something for a very long time.
Yeah.
And suck at it as well. Because how you're probably creating content 6 years ago is absolutely different to how you're doing now. There are times where you might have to talk to the camera, and there are times where you might have to try doing vlogs and all of that. Now you have to play around with different angles, and that can be a bit difficult. I also want to get into that form of, from a marketing side, but putting systems in place, right? I have interfaced with a lot of small businesses, and sometimes I get slightly frustrated, and I'm being kind. Slightly frustrated because the person that I'm talking to is the founder. It's the one that's, for instance, and I'll give him maybe an example in context, is the person that is making this product. They're also responding to the people, and they're also the ones sending or shipping out all of the stuff, and they're also responding. So they're wearing so many hats. So it means that if I've just seen their content and I've said, hey, I've got a friend whose birthday is today or tomorrow, can I get a candle? And then they respond to me tomorrow, I don't want it anymore because I've made a plan, right? What has that been like? And maybe we can just talk to people that are in, let's say, product-based businesses. What has that been like in terms of setting systems? When did you know that, okay, we can't just be a one-man shop, or it can't all just happen via my WhatsApp or whatever medium that you're using at that time, so that you can scale? Because I think people don't understand that you're not doing that because, you're lazy and you can't handle it. It has to enable you to scale so you can focus on other things and get a Michelle who wants to buy from you at 8 a.m. in the morning. Yeah.
I think that's a really good question. And for me, when I started, I actually never wanted to go the WhatsApp route, and I never did.
Praise God.
I started with an online store straight away. And it's so crazy because people think an online store is something that's so expensive to set up. And in today's terms, of course, it might be expensive for some people, but I think we tend to think, it's tens of thousands. Things like Shopify, WooCommerce, and the likes have become so cheap. And there's a lot of templates that are put out there that, if you sort of like dedicate a bit more time, you can actually learn how to just get an MVP that's still functional out there, right? That's the first thing. And for me, when I started, I was the person you're describing. I was cooking product. I was delivering myself. But very early on, I said, there's absolutely no way I can do this, because I had a full-time job at the time. So I got courier partners on board. And I said, okay, you're going to deliver all my stuff. I got the online store, obviously, where orders were coming in. And all I needed to worry about was maybe customer service and things like social media and marketing. And again, when you're talking about, creating systems and processes, you start thinking about, sometimes systems and process sound so intimidating for someone who thinks it's this big thing. And I think sometimes we're also guilty for it because we make it sound so grand. But something as simple as finding a social media scheduling post. It's creating a system
Yes.
that's going to replicate your
Yeah.
efforts, right? It's something that is going to replace the efforts of a human being at a particular time. So for me, even if I was there, even if I was writing the captions and choosing the content, I was taking one element out of the complexity or out of the workflow for me, which was take away the fact that you need to be available at the posting point. So I would schedule all my posts, and I would know that, for the week we're set. Things like shooting the content, I couldn't automate that, or I couldn't outsource that. So those are some of the things that I decided would stay. But then email campaigns, for example, you find an email campaign platform that you can use that is compatible with your online platform. And you sort of like set up all your email campaigns, you schedule everything, and things are just shooting off for yourself. To the point where all I really had to worry about was, okay, just shoot the content, just reply to people and build a community online and make the products. Out of all the other tasks that I could have done, even with courier services, you can still schedule. Come at this time, don't come at that time. That's part of the systems and processes conversation.
Yeah, I like that very much, because it really talks about what can you eliminate right now, and not like don't try to. And you're right. I think when we say systems and processes, people think we're saying like build a machine and like get a pilot license and fly a plane. And it's like, oh no, this you can literally do this. I love that very much.
And another thing is like things like creating templates for everything. For example, for all my email campaigns, I've got templates. So I don't believe in doing the same task twice or more than twice and starting from scratch every time. The moment a task is something that is that is repeatable, you have to create a template for it. Even when I'm writing, when I'm shooting content, I have templates for, okay, what is the storyline? I don't start from scratch every time. And I think this is how then people end up being able to, create 5 pieces of content in a day, because now you're working, you're not starting from the beginning every single time. Every time I'm writing an email campaign, it could be about skin today, tomorrow it could be about hair. I'm not starting from scratch because I've got so many templates. When you're thinking about even designs for social media posting, you have to have templates for everything, for your stories, for your reels, for that, such that even when you say I'm editing content, it should take you at least half the time that it took you the first time around.
Sure. I love that so much. And I think that also talks to a lot of behind the scenes work that people shy away from. It's like when they see everything on a public platform and it's consistent, the awareness has to be that there's a lot of private work that's happening that you don't get to see that makes all of this possible so that we can run and fully function. And I love that so much. Let's talk about funding, funds, money and cash. Because sometimes people say, I have got this amazing business, Michelle, but I have no money. I have this amazing business, Michelle, and the money I have is not enough. Or, I mean, I've interfaced with somebody also in the haircare business, and they needed funding to scale, to basically grow their business, because the demand was a lot as far as the product is concerned, but they couldn't deliver to the demand because there wasn't enough money to order in bulk or to purchase some things in bulk to be able to fulfill that. What has that journey been like for you in terms of being able to, number one, financially manage your organization, but also get access or potentially get access to funding to help you scale?
Yeah, the funding conversation is really hard, especially for Black people in this country and Black women. Consequently, I think it's difficult because the measures or the KPIs or the metrics that people are looking for when they want to fund are just not aligned to typically where you would find a business like Masodi starting at. If you say I'm starting in my garage or in my kitchen mixing butters and oils, no PE firm, no VC is typically that excited about it. So there's a part of me that doesn't that almost doesn't even have the expectation that anyone should fund me at that level, at least for me where I was. And all I did was to go to there was a place called the Soap Bar, and they had like really tiny raw materials and oils and butters, and then you buy like 20 little jars, because it was really, really humbling beginnings. Okay, 20 jars, 20 bottles, 20 whatever. And that was like really small cash for me, especially because I was also working and I was financing it that way. But the frustration really comes in at the point of scaling, because so many people then start and then their businesses blow up, and they feel like there's this huge opportunity that I wasted. If someone can just give me $1 million, million rands.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I promise you, I'll even return it
Yes.
in 6 months'
Yes.
time.
Quicker.
I will, I
Yeah.
promise I'll just
Yeah.
loan me, in
Yeah.
fact. Don't even give me.
Yeah.
And you still find, the same people say, oh, but do you have this? Do you have that? And it's really frustrating. So I have sort of decided for myself, we can't use that language here probably, but I just
Just cover it with
I
like the
just
Lord
want
and
to say,
then say.
I just want to say, bless you.
Okay, I got you.
Bless you,
Okay.
fine, bless you.
your heart.
So how I financed Masodi actually was through, so I started financing it myself,
Mhm.
but at the point when we went to Clicks,
Mm.
there's no amount of, I'm going to hustle my way through this that you can
Yes.
do. And that's the frustration that comes
Yeah.
with scaling. You have no idea. I went to so many different funders looking for money with the contract for Clicks and Pick and Pay in hand, and they still said no.
Oh my God.
Right. So this is also just to sober up anyone who thinks it becomes slightly easier at the top. Luckily, I had an institution that was willing to give me a loan. So Masodi was funded predominantly through that loan, and that loan was mostly for producing the launch order batch. So if you need 10,000 units of each SKU, we're going to help you manufacture that, and off you go.
Oh.
Right. And from then you need to hustle. You said you know how to sell at Clicks.
Yeah.
Now sell.
So
You said you know how to sell and take a lot. Now sell and make the
my
money and
gosh.
pay us back. Right. And that's just how we've been moving. And I think it's not entirely fair, given that there are institutions that position themselves as, we're here to empower, local businesses and we want to give money and whatever. But sometimes when you look at the terms of the loans, or when you just look at the difficulty of accessing some of these, financial opportunities, you can just tell that it's not true. The opportunity that is being spoken about in the industry. But at the same time, for myself at a personal level, I said, if you say an entrepreneur, Liz, then you need to know, if someone gave you the opportunity to put your product on the shelf, then show that you're an entrepreneur and sell and make sure you succeed. And some measures are very, very painful, and can actually reach your personal life. Things like, for the longest time, I didn't take a salary from Masodi, even when I had a team. Everyone else would get paid but less, because I was like, you know what, I don't think the business can afford to pay me. And let me just let me be the sacrificial lamb for this organization. Until very recently, I started taking a salary. That is a sacrifice you make. It's not fair, because these things have real life implications. I'm a human being. I have a family. I have loved ones, and I also need to participate in the communities that I belong to. Some of that participation requires money. So I think, generally speaking, I haven't really seen a lot of the financial opportunities. Even with retail contracts, I haven't seen a lot of that financial opportunity. What you do see is loans, and even that is not as easy to access as you would believe it would be, given that you're sitting on a contract and you're showing people, here is a contract.
Yeah, sure. That's such a truthful response, because I think, and the example I made earlier is that, like, people are seeking funding at conception. Like, nothing has been built yet, and here you are saying, I had built it, I'd gotten the contract from the big dog saying, hey, we want your product here, but still could not get any funding. And I think that's, it's for me, it's always about just knowing when is the right time to start looking for funding versus I just need funding to be able to start. And the point that you made was so powerful, and bless the hearts of the people that eventually loaned you the money, to be able to kickstart. How did you sell? You said that part of being an entrepreneur was like you stepping in. What did that look like? Because I can imagine now you've gotten the money, you've gotten into Clicks, and now you're like, okay, I need people to get into Clicks and see my product out of an aisle of freaking 50 of them and buy.
So there were multiple initiatives that we did, right? So firstly, retailers like Clicks were really supportive, I will say. So when you're talking about things like doing promotional activities in stores, negotiating for shelf space, visibility, because someone needs to walk into the store and be able to see your product there. Things like our online store, MasodiOrganics.com, which actually was my biggest priority in terms of growth, because after a while of engaging with retail organizations, you realize there's still a lot of opportunity for direct to consumer sales, right? So things like selling there, because they have got a lot more control and a lot more agility to say, today I'm trying this, tomorrow I'm trying that. Things like social media, things like running ads, things like working with other creators to sort of like demonstrate how to use the product. When we launched at Clicks and Pick and Pay, for example, it was in 2020 during COVID. And I remember one of Pick and Pay at the time didn't allow merchandisers because of the restrictions of people, right? But then they said for one brand, you can have sort of like one person. I flew with Kim, who was our ops manager at the time, to Cape Town to put every Masodi product on the shelf ourselves, right, in Cape Town. And then came back to Gauteng and did that all by myself. That's how determined I am to make sure that the opportunity for sale happens. That's how determined I am to make sure that if the consumer is looking for a Masodi product, they make it easier to find. And even if they walk into a store and they don't find a product, it won't be because we haven't done our best. It would be because maybe, the DC couldn't deliver, or maybe there was an out of stock somewhere that we didn't deliver. But every opportunity I get to make sure that people get the product, I use it. Even the driver behind our online store was to say, okay, fine, let's make sure that worst case scenario, if you say you've been to 3 stores because you prefer physical shopping so much, which is quite a thing. We can still give you the opportunity to come to the online store and buy from there. So I think for me I was not willing to stop at anything to ensure that the product is on shelf and the product is visible and that customers could access the product.
Yeah, I love that very much. How was the pricing?
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a spicy conversation. How was the pricing like? And when you started versus now as you scale, because I think for maybe a lot of people that don't know, the context is that if you're going into Clicks, they're taking a cut, right? So you're not making as much as you would make if you were selling the product yourself. What was that like? Did that make you... So maybe I want to start from, let's say the first one is like pricing when you started and also looking into the market. And then now when you scale, it's like, do we still keep the same prices? What do we do to still be a profitable business?
The strategy was similar at the beginning, as well as when I moved into Clicks, because I think I had, I was in FMCG before, I was a consultant before, so I did give it a bit of a thought. So we followed 2 approaches. Number one was looking at the sort of like industry benchmarks and saying, what are similar products and similar tiers priced like? That's the first thing. And the second thing I looked into was to say, okay, fine. What is the target, margin that I want to have per product to ensure that when you're just looking at the cost, no matter what happens, we're always going to be fine. And even with that, because I came from an FMCG background, I knew sort of like the benchmarks for things like, product margin and, the profit margins that retailers took and so on. So already I was thinking about it at the very beginning. And the nice thing was also that when I was still making the stuff in the kitchen, of course, there wasn't a retailer taking a cut because we're only selling through masodiorganics.com. But the economies of scale weren't there. So the product cost was still very high. So at the time when we went into retail, what allowed us to still maintain similar prices was because then we had economies of scale and we could sort of like use that to offset the margin that the retailer was looking for. So that's been really easy for us, to be fair.
I love that. And I think maybe just for context to people who might not understand economies of scale, it's maybe I'd like you to even just give a broader, but it's essentially if you're doing it from your home, you basically are making, let's say 20, 30, 100. But economies of scale, now that you're at Clicks, you're producing 1,000 and more, which makes the production much cheaper than it was before.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So is that a fair explanation?
Nothing else to add from my side.
It's like nothing from my side.
Nothing from my side. Thanks. Mute.
So just to give a brief. I love that so much, and that is so beautiful. I mean, I've been for the past couple of days in prep to our conversation, I've been doing a lot of research around your products and who you are and etc. It's been so fascinating just figuring out. And one of the biggest things that I fell in love with recently, there was a stand that you did for, I think it was for Take a Lot.
Oh yeah.
I thought that is beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
I was just breathtaking. I thought that was so beautiful. And what occurred to me as I was watching that is I thought to myself, there's an eye for design here that I think is like, this is pretty. And I think it has a lot to do with being able to understand your audiences. Who's the woman that buys Masodi, right? And essentially from what I grasped is they like beautiful things. They like beautiful experiences. Did you always know that? Or is it something that you built through for the brand as time moved?
It's something I've always known. I love beautiful things. I love pretty things. Even when you go to the office, we might not have the most expensive furniture, but I don't like untidy or weird looking. I like order because it makes me feel like I'm in flow. It makes me feel like my life is in order. It feels like my space reflects, my life and my state of mind and state of being. So for me, the branding for Masodi, I wanted it to feel like, I wanted it to be, an illustration of what I hope people can think of or feel when they see the Masodi products or they use the products. Something that's a bit serene, something that's a bit beautiful, and it's got a bit of a shock effect through maybe a weird pop of color. We're there, but you know what? If you don't want to see us, you don't see us. If you want to see us, you'll see us. So we're like a puppy.
Okay.
Be around if I want you. Don't be around if I don't want you.
I love that. When I saw that tonight, I just thought to myself, wow, it was really like breathtaking. I thought it was so beautiful. It's like, even just the concept around having the whole, you had popcorn there and just how intentional those little popcorn bags were. I thought this is stunning and I really, really like it. So I'm like, it's amazing. I also, part of watching your content is I saw a video, I think you recently posted it and you were showing snippets of you working. And one of the things you spoke about, which I think I termed, because you said quite a couple of things, but it was about your leadership style. And you spoke about being accessible to the people that you're leading and how you've kind of shaped that in the way that you sit in the office, etc., etc. And I thought to myself, that's interesting. And I'd love to talk about that. And I'll tell you why, right? I love accessible leadership. But when I work, I want to be alone. Yeah. Right? It's like, I don't want anybody breathing close to me. Because then someone might breathe a bit louder and it might just throw me off, or like not even throw me off in a negative way. It might distract me, or somebody might cough and then I lose my train of thought. So I like being alone and silence. Like silence for me is a thing. Just share with me this concept of accessible leadership and how you've seen that shape your team, to be your dream team, essentially.
Yeah. So context, I have 3 desks at the office. I have an office that I call the cave. So that's like an office with a door. I take my calls there and I run away from the team when I need silent time. But also other people, if they want to have a bit of privacy, can also use it. Then I have a desk at the hot desks where everyone sits. And I also have a desk at the warehouse and manufacturing facility. So sometimes I come in, upstairs doesn't see that I've come in. I'm sitting downstairs. I'm watching the products get made and for me, it speaks to the different types of leaders that I am. There's times where I need to be a Michelle. I need to lock myself in a room and just crunch. And sometimes I'll even do that from home because I'm like, I want to be so inaccessible today. I don't even want you to even have an opportunity to knock. No, I'm going to work from my house and I'm going to put my head down and do that. Or I'm going to lock myself in the cave. If you need me, you can come and knock and we can have a chat. But predominantly, I prefer to be in the heartbeat of things. I think I used to be very frustrated in corporate where conversations that could have been, hey, did you receive that order? Turn into meetings and turn into
emails
this and email.
Things.
So I love to be in the heartbeat of things because it's easy to just, across the desk and it can be distracting for other people.
Yes.
Which is why you see then at Masodi people typically, if people want to be alone, you'll see them with big earphones, noise cancellation, or they'll go sit in the cave or they'll find another sitting space where they can work. But typically the team is talking to each other. And I find that in a small team, it makes things so easy because even as I'm talking to someone else about maybe an order, it could actually inform something that's happening in marketing or whatever it is. But I also do like the idea of being accessible because I don't want the team to feel like I'm this higher than life figure that they need to be terrified to speak to or intimidated by, to a point where when they need to call me out in something, or to the point where when they need to rectify something that I'm doing or in my thinking, whatever, they feel like I'm so much of an enigma that they can't do that.
Yeah.
I want them to know that Liz is human and to see really my humanity every day, because seeing me every day will actually help condition them that this is just one of our own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's a hard-earned lesson that you've had to learn? Now you're like, oh, I'm glad I learned that. Now it's become a superpower.
I think people issues. Personalizing a lot of external issues that don't belong to you.
Yeah.
I'm a very passionate person, and a lot of people are able to pick it up from speaking to me. Within 3 minutes, you're like, she's passionate. She wears the emotion in her sleeve. And, it helps me connect with people, but it also makes me vulnerable for emotional exploitation. And because I'm very open and I'm upfront, if something's gone wrong, I want us to talk about it right now and resolve it kind of vibe.
Oh my gosh.
Right. I'm like, what's up? Let's chat. Let's get it out of the way. I hate unproductive conflict. I love conflict, but unproductive conflict, tantrums, I don't know what to do with that. So because of that, then it sets you up for emotional exploitation. Sometimes you come to the party when you should actually disengage.
Yeah.
There's a couple of parties I shouldn't have attended that I attended. And I think it's a hard-earned lesson that has now turned into a superpower. I'm able to very quickly pick something up from afar and go, there's that party. Sorry, unavailable.
Yeah. That is so interesting. And I think it builds into like the emotional intelligence of a founder, because you realize that sometimes you can't deal with it the way you would if it was like a close friendship, right? Sometimes it's like that's how when you said, I wanted to talk about things, I was like, oh my God, you're in for it. Yeah, because I think people sometimes misinterpret, the way that things are. And like you say, then you just end up attending every single party. Yeah. And before you know it, you're exhausted from all these parties you're attending.
Exactly.
And just like, I actually should not have attended that party.
Yeah. And some of the parties are not your type of party, actually. They take away from your creativity. They take away from your excitement about life. They take away from so much, and they create so much unnecessary noise. And, had you just not gone to the party to begin with, you wouldn't be part of the circus.
That's true.
Yeah.
Or maybe just giving yourself time and the other person time as well to eventually attend a party together, but that's more now well thought through, well calm, and well better. I think that, to be honest, that's been my biggest lesson between last year and this year.
Yeah.
It's like not everything needs to be attended to right
now. Yeah.
Because I think I was like that. And then over time, I was like, no, this is, because then once you've attended to it right now you've like gelled emotions with this person, and now you walk away with however that they were feeling, and now you're in a sucky mood, and you've got meetings, and you must show up, and you must do content. You're like, no,
I don't want to do it.
I don't want to do it. Because
don't you find that though? I don't know. Don't you find that sometimes when you walk away, you just keep thinking about it?
Not anymore.
Oh.
Not anymore.
You've graduated from that.
No, I shut down.
Yeah.
Light bulb. So for me, right, and I'll tell you, how I was the person who wore the emotions on his sleeves, like complete, like you would see it. Yeah. You'd see it. Like if I had a fight with my husband, you'd see it on my face. Like you would see that, something's not okay. Or with a friend or whatever. Like you would just see that something is wrong here. But over time, I learned that. And again, I'm going to get a bit spiritual here.
Yeah.
I learned that the enemy, and I'm going to use myself, I learned that the enemy was using my personal life and the people that are dear to me to distract me from the focus. Ooh. So I would be okay on a roll, and then like a friend of mine, me and a friend just have a tiff.
Yeah.
And then it knocks me down. And once it knocks me down, what happens? I can't show up the way that I should have. I'm stressed. And what's happening? It's playing. I'm building a narrative. And by the time I'm supposed to do what I'm supposed to do, and I didn't do it to the best of my ability, I'm kind of back to square one again. So I'm like, now we're resolving this. Why did we not resolve this before I went to go to that speaking engagement? And it's just like, now I'm even more upset. Until I realized that emotional intelligence is being able to compartmentalize your thoughts and the things that are important to you. So it doesn't matter who's argued with me today. The question I ask myself is, what is the key focus for today? If the key focus for today is we've got a speaking engagement, we've got a workshop, I'm sorry, honey, I can't chat. I honestly cannot. Would you like to resolve it? Call me at 5.
Yeah.
We'll resolve this matter, or friend, or whatever the case is. But I think for me, being able to do that has made me switch off easier and run to the next thing and then focus my attention. my mistake in the past would be like, let's resolve it now before I go.
Yeah.
And then then that person's crap is like onto me now. And now I'm like leaving to go work. So for me, it's just, I think I've just learned to also detach. Oh, I had a conversation with Mpumile Dwab about this on a podcast.
I saw that.
And we're talking about detaching. And I was, and I think for me, the learning was also just realizing that I'm not the center of anyone's life. Not even in a negative way. It's to say whatever crap this person's giving me, whether it's a staff member or whatever, has nothing to do with me, unfortunately. So I mustn't internalize it. I'm not the center of the universe.
Yeah.
I am basically just literally a character in their own little story. They've had a fight with their own people. They're struggling with their own things. Now they've come, and now when I take that, I open myself up to be like a dustbin for their crap. And I'm not going to do that. So it's like, whatever, go away. We'll talk about it later. And then when I'm done doing my key focus for today, maybe we'll address it. And if I still don't feel like I want to, I won't.
We're not going there.
We're not going there. We'll go there when I'm ready, because this is my story, my dream, my life, and I'm going to live it my way. And if I don't feel like I want to at that time, I will tell that person when they want to. I don't think right now is a good time, because I'm aware that I don't want to move my mindset to other things. Maybe for this week or for today, because I've got this thing to focus on.
I love that so much. I love that so much. I think for me, I want to get there. First and foremost, let's be real. I want to get there. First and foremost. But secondly, for me, right, what makes it easy for me to say, let's talk about it now, is because I don't argue with people I don't have sacred trust with anymore.
Yeah.
I don't do it. So the reason it's easy for me to say, let's talk about it now, is because if I have a misunderstanding with someone, I only have misunderstandings, or I come to the party with people who I know already. There's trust, and I know you mean well, and I know I mean well. So there's no questions about that.
Yeah.
And I know that whatever conversation we have, even if we don't finish, if we talk about now and I feel like we need to go deeper, I'm able to say, let's talk more later. But at least I know that I did something. Sorry for now, mate. See you later.
Yeah.
But strangers, what I have found actually is I have now become completely disinterested in doing back and forth with people I've met on the internet that I don't know.
Importantly, you've met on the
internet, don't know in real life, because so many times I've seen people make assumptions about each other because there's no trust, right? I don't know you really well. You're just that girl. She's just that girl. So it's easy for things to be taken out of context.
Yeah.
Let me just rather not even begin.
I agree.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I agree. It's like, okay, cool.
Okay, no problem. Sharp.
Whatever. Yeah, I agree. But I love that as well, because then that's just gauging which fight is worth it.
Yeah.
So it's like, and I think that's the starting point, right? When you gauge which one is worth it, you'll be able to gauge when is it worth having it. Otherwise, you're going to run at like if a staff member does, and you're just like, oh yeah, and now you've got this meeting, and now you must start this meeting in a funk.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm not gonna let you like ruin any my vibes today. Yeah. Like today, I'm not gonna fight with you, and I'm gonna keep.
I do have a question for you though on detachment.
Yes.
Do you not find that in order to be able to detach, you're going to have to detach from both the positive and the negative? How do you just, how do you focus on that skill?
So maybe it's because of my so I have a borderline obsessive personality. And I think that's why I've built the things that I've built. If I said I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it, and we're going to go. Yeah. And I think that's just my personality type. Yeah. So and I'll give you an example. We had the Sales and Entrepreneurship Summit, and the week of the summit, so many things happened. Like I got scammed, I got money.
Oh, no.
Like a lot of like hectic things happened. Yeah. And I remember at some point I remember saying to my husband, I want to cry. I really want to cry. But at some point, like the tears, right?
Because where my tears at?
Because mentally, it's like, I've got the summit. So I think for me, I'm always like I'm a one goal focused person. If this is what I'm doing right now, unfortunately, I can't do anything else. If the house is whatever, please call 911, call the cops. I can't help you. Just like get it done without me. Yeah. But I think that's it for me. When I set my mind to doing something, it's hard for me to look for anything else. Yeah, it's very difficult. So even if somebody was like, yeah, you're like so crappy, you're not today. I'll focus on you later. And trust me, maybe I will. Maybe when I get home, I'd be like, oh, I'm so upset. That person said that crappy thing about me. Yeah. But I promise you, if I have something to do, I'm going to rock up for my podcast. I'm going to film. I'm going to do that. Yeah, I think it's a personality thing. It's a very like, I just am not, and it's something that I've shared a lot in like different speaking engagements. And my husband taught me this, and it changed my life. It's like, I always say to people, you must always ask yourself, like, whose dream are you living in?
Oh,
Right?
Yeah.
When you let other people and other things get into your life and take over you, now I'm essentially living in their dream. And I've stepped out of my dream. So I'm no longer the main character. And if I'm not the main character, I'm not in control. The camera's not on me all the time. And, I don't want that. So because I'm very conscious about curating a life that belongs to me and is my dream, if today this person doesn't fall under my dream for the day, it's not going to happen, unfortunately. And my emotions have to come to the party.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
That
makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let's go.
Yeah. So
Let's
that for me
detach.
is like, it's like, but I think also the detachment goes back to the point I made earlier. It's like just realizing that, like, I'm not even the center of this person's life. Like, this person's probably going through something. Did they piss me off? Sure. But is it worth my attention currently? No. And it's to your point, right? You have to detach from the positive and the negative. And the positive is like, maybe they didn't mean it. And the negative is like, maybe they are like a terrible person. Whatever it looks like, fortunately for today, I can't care. And I don't.
And I think I also like what you're saying now about maybe they this way. So for me, that's the rabbit hole you end up getting trapped in.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe they this, maybe they that. I don't want to have to think about
exactly
why you did something anymore. You know what I mean? Which is why for me, I'm like, if I don't know you enough, if there's no sacred trust between us, I don't want to have to create hypothetical reasons for why you did this or why you did that or why you looked at me that way. I don't know. Me, I'm actually not getting involved. I'm not coming to that party.
That's very true. And also just the realization that a sane person, given enough time to reflect, will realize they were wrong.
Ooh.
So essentially, I also want to give both. And by sane person, I also mean myself included. Maybe after a day or two, I might be like, oh, maybe I was a bit harsh.
Yeah.
Maybe I wasn't. Maybe I should apologize. Whereas if I dealt with it then, I would have just lashed out.
Yeah.
And, for them as well, maybe they did do me dirty. And if I just give them enough time to like sit into whatever they're going through, whatever is happening in their lives, they might be able to come back and say, you know what, I wasn't kind to you and I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And I think that's the power of time, is that it gives the other person the time to reflect. And that's why I'm not a let's talk about it now kind of person. Yeah. It's always like, I want to give you the time to work through whatever you're going through internally in context of what the interaction we just had that we're both unhappy about. And then if after 4 days you still feel the same, okay.
How did you get to 4 days?
It's like, let's chat. It's like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, precisely 4.
It's like 4 days. Because I think that's the thing for me. Like, I'm like, let me give myself 24 hours. After 24 hours, I'm like, I need more hours.
Okay.
And then, until I can go to 7 days and I'm like, I'm still not ready. I mean, there are people and friends I had not a breakup, but I distanced myself from that even to this day, I still don't feel ready to talk.
Oh.
Yeah, because I think for me, it's like, maybe I just haven't given myself the time to process what happened, and to even articulate my feelings well enough to resolve the matter. So I will not talk bad about them. I will just say, I need to step back a little, and maybe with enough time upon proper reflection, I will then reflect, and we will then be able to have a meaningful conversation.
And
but I
that's
think
fair.
it's beneficial for both parties to take some time. Always.
That's fair.
Always.
That's fair.
Yeah. And not be attached. Oh, Liz, this was amazing.
Oh.
Promise we'll do coffee again.
Are we done? No.
We can't go. We can't go. It's like, this was amazing. I want more, please.
I want more.
I
so
enjoyed this so
good.
much.
I had so much fun.
Me too. I enjoyed. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We are loving the work that you're doing. We're so excited to see and just be like big and greater. We are looking forward to Masodi store. That's something that's in the pipeline. And just to see it grow. I think it's always beautiful when I get to converse with amazing young entrepreneurs that are doing amazing things. And you're one of them.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah. So we love and appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank
Resonate community. I hope that you enjoyed that conversation like I did. It was breathtaking. It was so warm. Oh my gosh. It was so lovely. I hope you enjoyed it so much. If you did, let me know in the comment section. If you're watching this on YouTube or you're listening to it, let me know. Spotify and Apple Podcast has comment sections. Let me know what stood out for you the most in this conversation. And be sure to follow Masodi and all the products and just buy from them. Just buy from female entrepreneurs, please. And thank you. Have yourself a beautiful one. And we'll see you guys on our next episode. Goodbye.